City officials say in order for cars to park on both sides of the road, the width of the street has to be more than 26 feet. In this case, the street is less than 25. The City of Electra's Municipal Court has a new sign on the courtroom door. Instead of being open 5 days a week, they are now only going to be open 3 days a week in hopes of saving on further operation costs. Each school bus will have 3 cameras inside. The first one's going to be located at the very back of the bus. Very little traffic is on the roads right now, and that's because the flames are quickly growing. You can take a look right behind me. You can also see the smoke billowing over Highway 287. The Chamber of Commerce brought the call center located right behind me, WDS Global, to Wichita Falls. It was all in hopes of major impacts in the way of new job creation and economic growth. The panel spent 11 hours deliberating between both yesterday and today. They found Airman Thomas guilty of attempting to commit a lewd act with a child under the age of 16 years old.
I gotta get my animals out.
Fast-moving water and evacuation rescues. Major flooding in Wichita County has forced many residents to grab their goods and rush out their doors.
And I didn't think that there was going to be a situation to worry about. It wasn't until I was at work in a meeting and my wife called and said, "Hey, you better get here real quick. We need some help. We're being told by the sheriff's department we have to evacuate."
But for the Maynards, this situation is all too familiar. Back in 2008, floodwaters devastated their home, leaving them with $80,000 worth of damage.
Definitely flashback.
We had already set our electronics and stuff that was low on the floor up the night before.
Right.
And everything, because we were just afraid, that something like that might happen again.
But with their neighbor's home surrounded, this time the Maynards had more to lose. They were praying to get Glenn's elderly mother out of the home safe.
We had to call an ambulance and everything to come out there and get her because we didn't know how else we were going to get her out of there.
Now the Maynards are just searching for answers. They say after the flood of 2008, they were told this was something they would never have to deal with again, but they were wrong.
We need this fixed now. I mean, it's going to be, continue to be a problem. It's going to make that area uninhabitable.
It was an unexpected stop for students riding one Wichita Falls ISD school bus. The bus sideswiped a black car parked on the side of Sherwood Lane and drove into someone's front yard. No one was injured, but some residents say it was an accident waiting to happen.
Well, when two large trucks park on both sides of the street, it's very difficult to get through, especially if you have another big vehicle.
Susan Kaczynski has lived on Sherwood Lane for 9 years. She says driving down the road is a constant struggle, and even backing up out of her driveway is a daunting task.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. You want to go really slow because you want to make sure you're going to clear both vehicles before, so you don't damage your vehicle or theirs.
City officials say in order for cars to park on both sides of the road, the width of the street has to be more than 26 feet. In this case, the street is less than 25. In order to get signs that read "no parking on the street," city officials say they need residents to ask for them or first responders to announce a problem. But with narrow driveways, many residents say there is no other choice.
I would be okay with it if they stopped parking on at least one side of the road so that vehicles can get through.
And while street size may have played a factor in the early morning crash, officials with Durham School Services say the driver will undergo a refresher training course and school officials will alter the bus route. It's an issue that's divided a community.
I am not against a hospital, I'm against the tax.
Those against paying to keep the Bowie Memorial Hospital open, and others who say it's a lifeline they don't want to be without.
It just means the world to this city.
But as Election Day nears, many factors still remain unknown. Right now, a temporary board has released a rate not to exceed 17 cents. But residents will be voting to approve a rate not to exceed 40 cents per $100 valuation.
So we're assuming that in May, we're going to have an election. And we're assuming that all these board members that are temporary, that are essentially the existing board members of the authority, are going to run for election
The tax rate will not be set until a new board is elected after the November elections. Parisi says the 17 cents is what the temporary board feels is necessary. That's not to say it can't change.
When they set the initial rate, they can set it at any point between 0 and 40.
What I'm saying is, like, when as a resident, if I was to look at this, I would assume, okay, 17 cents. And then when I get to the polls and I see 40, it's confusing.
Well, and there's nothing we can do about that.
But it's the uncertainty of the rate that's fueling the fire for the Vote No BMH bailout group.
So only a quarter of the county is going to carry the burden for the current debt and any existing debt. And that is not fair, but it's not affordable for a quarter of the county to pay this tax.
A tax that some on a fixed income says will be hard to come up with.
Our fixed income pretty much covers our living expenses, but any taxes have to come out of our savings.
Residents 65 and older will have to pay the special district tax, despite indications that they would freeze, like Montague County. I called them yesterday and they said they freeze the taxes of 65 and older, so that's not you know what I'm saying? That's not an option with the special district. Is that correct? You
That's
can't
correct.
freeze. Parisi says although a freeze will not happen, 65 and older may be eligible for other exemptions, but that will have to be determined by the elected board.
You have to understand that from a hospital perspective, the money that we collect from taxes is not the only thing that we're concerned about.
Parisi says if the district is passed, he plans to bring in more specialty physicians to increase revenue and keep the tax down for residents. And despite the unknown, other Bowie residents say whatever the price, they're willing to pay.
I called the first time I heard about it, and I said, you can raise my taxes, I'm for it.
Frances Caswell's home is just down the road from the Bowie Memorial Hospital. She says they've come to her aid too many times to count.
Ambulances gets here very quick because I'm so close, and I've had to use them more than once.
She says come election day, she hopes that the hospital stays afloat.
That lots of people will vote for it, and just really to know that if we need somebody real quick, we can go to the hospital.
Not just a healthcare impact, it's an economic impact in those communities, and they all suffer.
I don't know how much impact it will have. I do know on the taxpayer standpoint, for an example, for me, over 40 at the maximum rate that we're voting on, the 40 cents per 100 for myself is over $1,100 a year. I know for me that's $1,100 less I have to spend in Bowie.